Good day everyone, especially to you Dr. Yakibir. I'm Hanna Perocho from BSHM3E. So in this video, I'm going to discuss about the chapter 12 that tackles about the laws related to tourism investments and finance. So according to Jose Maria Concepcion II, founder of Go Negosyo Summit, teach man how to start a business and you feed him many lifetimes. So for the topic outline, the topic outline are already shown on the screen. So let's go to the learning objectives of this chapter. Enumerate the procedure in setting up a tourism-oriented business. Explain the laws governing tourism investments and financing tourism-oriented projects. Discuss the business models applicable to tourism projects. Also enumerate the various taxes application to tourism-related establishments. And lastly, to discuss the limitation of foreigners in tourism investments. So for the introduction, the tourism industry plays a vital role in the country's economic growth, and the government actively supports its development by encouraging private sector participation. So to attract the both local and foreign investments, various laws and incentives must have been put in place to promote, regulate, and also to monitor the tourism-related businesses. These policies not only facilitate investment, but also opportunities, and also to provide special benefits for specific groups such as balikbayans, retirees, senior citizens, and informal sector workers. So in this chapter, it will explore the legal framework governing tourism investments and finance, highlighting the legal framework highlighting the incentives available to investors and also the rule of foreign participation in the country. So let's go to the Foreign Investments Act of 1991, the Republic Act number 7042 as amended by Republic Act 8179. It is a law that in the Philippines that sets the rules for foreign individuals and businesses who want to invest in the country. So first is the definition of Philippine national. So a Philippine national can be a Filipino citizen, a company wholly owned by Filipinos, a corporation with at least 60% Filipino ownership, and also a foreign corporation that is 100% Filipino owned and registered in the Philippines. So the key points of this law is that who can invest. So who can in this law, foreigners can invest in most businesses here in the Philippines, except those listed in the negative list or the industries where foreign ownership is restricted. Also, the second one is the ownership rules, where foreigners can own 100% of a business except in industries with ownership limits. And also, if a business serves mostly Filipino customers or like domestic market enterprise and has less than $200,000 in capital, and it must be owned by Filipinos. Also, if the business uses advanced technology or employs at least 50 people, foreigners can invest with at least $100,000 in capital. And the third one is the export enterprises, where businesses that export at least 60% of their products or services abroad can have 100% foreign ownership, except for restricted industries. And lastly, number four is the registration process, where foreign businesses must register with the Securities and Exchange Commission or SEC for corporation or the Department of Trade and Industry DTI for the sole proprietorship. So here are the effects of not following registration rules and not getting the required SEC license. The first one is the penalties and sanctions. So this includes paying fines and losing any benefits granted under the law. Like for example, under the Section 14 of the Foreign Investment Act, businesses that do not register properly may have to pay penalties or lose tax incentives. And the second one is for foreign companies, where the first one is the possible criminal charges. So the company or its officers may face fines or even jail time. So according to Article 144 of the Corporation Code, failing to register properly can lead to legal punishment, and also cannot file a case in the Philippine courts. A foreign company that has not registered cannot take legal action in the country, and also it can be sued in Philippine courts. Even if they are not registered, foreign companies can still be taken to court in the Philippines. So this means that while they cannot file lawsuits, they can still face legal cases in the country as per Section 133 of the Corporation Code. So for the restrictions on foreign ownership, under the Executive Order number 139 dated October 27, 2022 and Republic Act 8179, certain industry are listed in the foreign investment negative list, which limits or prohibits foreign ownership in specific business sectors. So this means that foreign investors may not be allowed to fully own businesses in certain industries, depending on government policies and special laws. So let's go to the investment in transportation, business, and public utilities. So for the law, according to Article 12, Section 11 of the Constitution, the national economy and patrimony, no franchise, certificate, or authorization to operate a public utility can be granted to anyone other than Filipino or corporation associations that are organized under the Philippine laws where at least 60% of the capital is owned by the Filipino citizens. Additionally, such franchises cannot be exclusive or last longer than 50 years. These franchises are subject to change, amendment, or repeal by the Congress if needed for the public good. The state encourages the general public to invest in public utilities, but foreign investors' participation in the management of these utilities is limited to their share in the capital. So all exclusive and managing officers of the corporation or association must be Filipino citizens. So this law restricts foreign ownership in the transportation sector, including airlines, land, and water transport businesses, as these services are considered public utilities. So only Filipino citizens or corporations where at least 60% of the capital is owned by the Filipino citizens. So furthermore, it means that foreign investors can own up to only 40% of the capital, including the where the law ensures the leadership of these transportation businesses, including the executive and managing position, must be filed by Filipino citizens, protecting the national interest and promoting local leadership in key industries. So for the investment in travel agencies and tour operators, the following entities may apply for accreditation as a tour operator. And the first one is a resident Filipino citizen, a partnership organized under Philippine laws with at least 60% of its capital owned by Filipino citizens, and also a corporation organized under the Philippine laws with at least 60% of its common or voting stock owned by Filipino citizens, and at least 60% of its board of directors composed of Filipinos. So this law limits foreign ownership in travel agencies and also for the tour operators to 40% accreditation and operation of these businesses are managed by the Department of Tourism. So in addition, memorandum under number 211, which approved the 2006 Investment Priorities Plan on April 4, 2006, it classifies the tourism activities, including travel agencies and tour operators, as preferred activities under Article 22.9 of the Omnibus Investment Code of 1987. So for a travel agency or tour operator to register under the Investment Priorities Plan, they must meet the following requirements. And these are that applicant must be a Filipino citizen, engagement and preferred projects, and also the capability to operate efficiently, where the applicant must demonstrate the ability to operate efficiently and contribute to the national development, particularly in the tourism sector and the overall economy. So this law ensures that the travel agencies and tour operators have significant Filipino ownership and management structure, promoting the local involvement while still allowing for some foreign investment under strict guidelines. So let's go to the investment in hotels, resorts, and other accommodation establishments. So under the Memorandum Order number 211, which approved the 2006 Investment Priorities Plan, so the tourism sector covers a wide range of activities, including the development of economic zone, tourist estate, agritourism facilities, and the establishment of accommodations facilities such as hotels, resorts, apartments, pension houses, tourist inn, and similar establishment. So for the application of the retail trade law for restaurants and shops, Restaurants and other tourism-related establishments such as the department stores and shops are governed by the laws on retail trade due to the nature of their business. So this means that restaurants and shops are subject to the same rules that apply to other retail businesses in the country. So in the past, the operation and ownership of these establishments were limited to Filipino citizens or corporation and association fully owned by the Filipino citizens. So these restrictions was in place to ensure that businesses in this sector were controlled by local individuals or entities. However, with the enactment of the Retail Trade Liberalization Act of 2000, foreign investors are now allowed to engage in retail trade subject to capital requirements. So this law opened up the real retail sector to foreign investors but set minimum capital requirements to ensure local businesses will still have significant role. So let's go to the tourism projects under the Build, Operate, and Transfer or the BOT program. So in the Republic Act number 6987 as amended by the Republic Act 7718, known as the BOT law, aims to recognize the private sector as the main engine for national growth and development, providing favorable incentives to mobilize private resources. So this law covers not only government infrastructure projects but also government development projects. So the law recognizes various contractual arrangements such as the first one is the Build and Transfer or the BT. This is a project where the proponent finances and builds the infrastructure or development facility and then transfer it to the government or local government unit. So the government repays the proponent for its total investment plus a reasonable return. And the second one is the Build, Lease and Transfer. In this arrangement, the proponent finances and builds the facilities, and after completion, it is leased to the government or LGUs for a fixed period. After the lease term, the ownership automatically transferred to the government. And the third one is the Build, Own, and Operate. Here are where the proponent finances, builds, owns, operates, and maintains the facility. The proponents also recover its investment by charging users tolls, fees, and or rentals, and the project can be operated by the facility operator assigned by the proponent. And the fourth one is the Build, Operate, and Transfer or the BOT, where this is common arrangement where the proponent finances, builds, operates, and maintains the facility for a fixed term, recovering its cost through charges to users, and also after the term, the proponent transfers the facility to the government or LGU. So in this arrangement, it may also include a supply and operate scheme where the supplier of the equipment operates the facility, providing technology transfer and training to the Filipinos. And the fifth one is the build, transfer, and operate. The sixth one, contract, add, and operate. The seventh one is the develop, operate, and transfer. Rehabilitate, operate, and transfer. And the rehabilitate, own, and operate. So the BOT law is designed to encourage the private sector investment in public infrastructure and development projects. It allows the government to partner with the private companies to build, maintain, and operate facilities while ensuring the government can eventually take control of these assets after a certain period. So these arrangements are beneficial because they share in the financial burden of the infrastructure projects, encourage private expertise, and also improve public services without the government having to fund everything upfront. So for the period covered, the contractor must hand over the facility to the government at the end of the fixed term, which can be up to 50 years. And for the financing allowed, the contractor can get funding from both foreign and local sources and can hire either a foreign or Filipino contractor. However, if the contractor is a foreign controlled, they can only get up to 24% of the total project cost from the Philippine government financing institutions, where this ensures that the majority of the project's financing comes from the non-government sources. Also, any money from the foreign sources should not require a guarantee from the government or government-owned companies. So for the employment of the Filipino workers, foreign contractors must hire Filipino workers for the construction where work if local works have the necessary skills. So for the priority projects, there are certain infrastructure projects that are considered as a priority for tourism development, such as the highways, bridges and roads, rail-based and non-rail-based transit system, port, airports and related facilities, and tourism education and health infrastructure, land reclamation and industrial estates, development of new towns and communities. So these projects must be approved by the National Economic and Development Authority or the local government councils depending on the project cost. So this ensures that the proper authorities review and approve major tourism-related projects. So let's go to the investment incentives and government undertaking under the BOT law. The first one is the cost sharing, where the government may contribute part of the cost involved in setting up infrastructure such as providing land, buildings, or financing up to 50% of the total project cost, where the rest is paid by the project proponent. The government can fund its share through its budget or through foreign loans and aid. The second one is the credit enhancements, where this is when the government helps the projects by offering guarantees that protects the project proponent from financial risk. If the project faces risk or problems, the government may step in to help the proponent avoid defaulting on the project loans. And also the next one is the direct government subsidy, where the government can help by paying part of the project's cost or waiving certain fees or taxes. The next one is the direct government equity, where the government can invest in the project by buying shares of stock or other assets, either using money or other resources. Also, the performance undertaking, where a government agency or local government may take responsibility for ensuring that the project is completed as planned, even handling the financial obligations if the project proponent fails to meet their commitments. Also, we have the legal assistance, where the government can provide legal help to the project proponent if there are any legal issues during the project, such as court cases or hearing. They support and also ensures that the project's agreement are upheld. Also, it provides security assistance, where government can provide security to protect the project site during its construction and up until it is completed using forces like Philippine National Police or the Armed Forces of the Philippines. Also, next one is the local government incentives, where the local government units may offer additional taxes or exemptions based on local laws. So this means that local governments can provide extra support to make projects more attractive by offering financial incentives. Let's go to the applicable negotiable instrument and documents of title. So the following laws are important for understanding the use of negotiable instrument and documents of title in tourism investment. So the first one is the Act 2031, or the Negotiable Instrument Law. The second one is the Presidential Decree number 115. It regulates trust receipt transactions. And also the third one, the Warehouse Receipt Law, Act 2137. So for the discussion of this law, here are some negotiable instruments and documents of the title that are useful in tourism financing and investment. The first one is the promissory note. So a promissory note is a written promise to pay a specific amount of money either on demand or at a future date. So there are special types of promissory notes. These are the certificate of deposit, mortgage note, real estate mortgage, and also the chattel mortgage. So certificate of deposit, this is a document from a bank acknowledging that it has received money from the depositors and promises to pay it back on demand to the depositor or to the person and depositor's names. Mortgage note is this is a debt instrument in which the borrower pledges property as security for a loan. If the borrower fails to repay, the lender can claim the property, and there are two types of mortgage note, and these are the real estate mortgage And the chattel mortgage, where real estate mortgage used for real estate or land, and chattel mortgage used for personal property like machines or tools. So the next one is the bill of exchange. So a bill of exchange is a written order from one person to another depending payment at a certain time. So it is also part of the so these are the some part of the negotiable instrument and documents of the title. So there are types of bills of exchange. The first one is the draft, where the first one is the draft, where this is a bill of exchange issued by a bank at the request of a buyer, instructing the bank to pay a seller or a specified amount. The next one is the trade acceptance. This is a bill of exchange drawn by a seller and the buyer of goods, and the buyer accepts it to show they agree to the payment. Also, banker's acceptance, were a type of bill exchange where a bank accepts the bill and agrees to pay it, often used in international trade. So bill of exchange are commonly used in international trade, and in tourism projects they can be a way to secure payments for services or goods, and also they provide assurance that the payment will be made as agreed. And the third one is the check. A check is a written order that directs a bank to pay a specific amount of money from the account's holder funds to a person or business. So there are special types of checks, and these are the manager's checks. The first one is the manager's check, where a check issued by a bank's manager, which is guaranteed by the bank itself, similar to cash. The second one is the traveler's check, a check designed for travelers to use in a place of cash. The holder signs it twice, and once at the time of issue and again when it's cashed. And the next one is the certified check, where a check that the bank certifies as having enough funds to cover the payment. The cross check, where a check with two parallel lines drawn across it, indicating that the check can only be deposited into a bank account. So checks are one of the most common ways to handle payments in tourism. Special checks like manager's check and traveler's check are useful for ensuring secure transactions, especially when traveling or handling large sums of money. So there are also some other commercial documents, and these are the following. The commercial documents are useful in merchandising, importation, and exportation of goods, which can also be applied in the tourism industry. And the first one is the invoice. So an invoice is a written statement of the details of goods or services sold to a buyer, and also it includes information like the quantity, price, and the total value of the merchandise. And the second one is the sales invoice, where it lists the goods sold and the prices charged. It acts as a formal agreement that the buyer and the seller have reached, outlining the terms of sale. And the third one is the purchase order, where it is a written agreement where a buyer requests goods or services from a supplier, and also it becomes a legally binding contract once accepted. And the fourth one is the bill of lading. It is a document where issued by a carrier like shipping company to acknowledge receipt of goods for transportation, and it outlines terms like delivery time and condition. The fifth one is the warehouse receipt, where a warehouse receipt is issued by a warehouseman to show that goods are stored in their facility, and also it serves as a proof of ownership and can be transferred to another party. And the sixth one is the trust receipt, where it is an agreement where the bank releases goods to a buyer, but the bank retains ownership until the buyer sells the goods and pays the bank. And the last one, the seventh one, the letter of credit, where it is a document issued by a bank guaranteeing payment to a seller on behalf of a buyer. So the buyer arranges it with the bank to ensure the seller gets paid once the terms are met. So these commercial documents such as invoice, purchase orders, and letter of credits are key to ensuring smooth transactions and financing in the tourism industry. So they help businesses track sales, manage risk, and secure financing for goods and services. So let's go to the foreign exchange. Foreign exchange refers to the issue of different payment instruments such as paper currency, checks, bills of exchange, and electronic notifications to make international payments. So in tourism, So in tourism, foreign exchange is important because it allows tourists to convert their money into the local currency when traveling abroad or vice versa. Like for example, a tourist from the US visiting the Philippines may need to convert US dollars to pesos for their transactions. So banks and foreign exchange services provide the platform for these transactions, enabling smooth travel and business operations. So in Article 1249 of the Civil Code of the Philippines, this article stipulates that payments must be made in agreed upon currency. If it's not possible to use the specific currency, the payment should be made in a currency that is legal tender in the Philippines. So legal tender is the refers to the type of currency that must be accepted as payment for debts within given jurisdictions. So in the Philippines, legal tender includes the Philippine peso, all notes and coins issued by the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. So if a contract specifies a certain currency, a payment can be made in that currency even if it's not a legal tender in the Philippines. However, checks, bills of exchange and drafts can only be considered valid payment of once they are cashed and not just when they are offered. So in here are the so let's go to the foreign exchange regulations. The central bank circular number 1353 of 1992 has relaxed foreign exchange regulations, allowing easier transactions for both trade and non-trade activities. So here are the some key points. So foreign exchange may be freely bought and sold outside the banking system. Tourists can purchase foreign exchange from the authorized agent banks as long as they can show they sold pesos for foreign currency. And also tourists can reconvert up to $200 or equivalent into foreign currency at airports or exit points without needing proof of previous foreign exchange sales. So in most high-end hotels in Metro Manila, foreign exchange rates are based on the Bankers Association of the Philippines Daily Bulletin, which ensures a standardized and reliable exchange rate for tourists and establishments alike. So the General Banking Law of 2000, Republic Act 8791, plays a crucial role in regulating banking operation and financial activities in the Philippines. So here's a breakdown of some key points and stipulators related to financing and the role of banks. So the first one is the state policy and role of banks. So the state recognizes the vital role of the banks in economic development and acknowledges their fiduciary nature, which necessitates high standards of integrity and performance. So the goal is to create a stable, efficiency, and globally competitive banking system that is responsive to the needs of a developing economy. So there are types of loan collaterals. So banks typically require collateral to secure loans. So common forms of collateral include real property, chattels, and also deposits. And next one is the pre-qualifying documents for loans. So before granting loans, banks usually require the following documents. So the documents are shown on the screen. And the next one is the regulatory compliance and lending procedures, where banks are required by law to ensure the diligence of their credit evaluation processes before granting loans. So the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas enforces the regulations to maintain the integrity of the banking system. And the sixth one is the loan documentation and agreements. And these are the promissory note, credit line agreement, real estate and chattel mortgage, surety agreements. And also we have the bank's fiduciary duty, where banks have fiduciary responsibility to their clients, which means they must act in the best interest of their clients and exercise high standards of care when managing clients' funds. And the last one is the letter of receipt, where a notice that the bank has granted a credit line in favor of the corporation or the borrower. So in summary, banks play a critical role in the financial system by providing financing options to individuals and businesses, and they must adhere to strict regulatory standards in order to ensure their operations are efficient, transparent, and supportive of economic development. So let's go to the credit cards and the law. So what is an access device? So an access device is any card, code, or tool used to access money, buy goods, pay for services, or transfer funds such as credit cards, debit cards, online banking login credentials, and also the personal identification numbers. So in Republic Act 8484 of February 1, 1998, what is a credit card? So a credit card is a small card that allows the user to buy things or pay for services on credit, meaning they can pay later instead of immediately. It can also be used to withdraw cash advances. So what is an open-end credit plan? So this is a type of credit where the bank or financial company allows a person to make purchases or get loans from time to time using credit card, chose to pay the balance fully or in small amounts over time, and also be charged interest or fees if they do not pay the full amount. So here are the important rules on the credit cards according to the Republic Act 8484. So the rules for credit card applications: before person applies for credit card, the company must explain the following, and these are the annual percentage rate, the annual fees, and other charges. So the credit card provider must also give a simple and clear explanation of how they calculate fees and interest. So for the rules for issuing the credit card companies cannot charge hidden fees when offering cards through phone calls, emails, or advertisement. Fees are only allowed if the customer agrees to them before using the card. The company sends a written explanation of the charges, and also the customer is not forced to accept the card. So if a person receives a credit card they never applied for, they do not have to pay for it unless they use it. So let's go to the access device fraud under the Republic Act 8484. Access device fraud happens when someone sells or steals credit cards, debit cards, or online banking details to commit fraud. Examples include showed. So the examples include showed on the screen. So for the fraud in tourism and hospitality, many fraud cases happen in hotels, restaurants, and tourism-related businesses, and these crimes fall under the revised Penal Code Act 3815 and include the first one is the falsification of business documents. So this happens when a person changes or fakes important business records to commit fraud. Thief, and the second one is the thief and qualified thief, where this involves stealing property from a person or business. If the thief is committed by someone trusted by the company, it is considered qualified thief, which has heavier penalties. And the third one is the swindling or the estafa. So this happens when a person tricks someone into giving them money, goods, or services by lying or abusing trust. So let's go to the investment priorities plan. So the investment priorities plans, or IPP, is a list of industries that the Philippine government promotes for investment. Businesses that invest in these industries can get special benefits and incentives. So the Board of Investments issues the IPP every year. So let's go to the priority investment areas in tourism. So the government has classified several tourism-related activities as priority investment areas, including the agribusiness, healthcare and wellness, information and communication technology, motor vehicle products, infrastructure, tourism, shipbuilding or shipping, jewelry, and fashion garments. So let's go to the investment in the autonomous region in Muslim Mindanao. So the ARMM has its own investment list under the Regional Board of Investment, where priority tourism-related investment include the export activities, infrastructure and services, tourism development, and also retirement villages. So some tourism focus areas in ARMM are the Sulu, Tawi-Tawi, Lanao del Sur, and Maguindanao, and also including the Basilan. So let's go to the incentives for investors. To encourage the investments in priority areas, the government offers tax benefits and other advantages, including the tax incentives, where it needs the income tax holiday, where exemptions from income tax for 4 years for new projects, 6 years for new projects for pioneer, 3 years for expansion projects, and 6 years for projects in less developed areas. And also exemption from taxes and duties on imported spare parts, exemptions from wharfage dues and export taxes, tax exemption and breeding stocks and genetic materials, and also tax credits, and also the additional tax deductions. So for the non-tax incentives, these are the hiring of foreign nationals where foreign investors can hire non-Filipino executives for 5 years, and simplified custom procedures and also special investors resident visa. So let's go to the list on how to register as an investor. So to apply for investment incentive under the Omnibus Investment Code, businesses must follow these steps. So the steps are shown on the screen on how to register as an investor. So let's go to the Special Economic Zone Act of 1995, or the Republic Act 7916. So the Special Economic Zone Act of 1995 establishes the legal framework for creating the managing special economic zones in the Philippines. So it also created the Philippine Economic Zone Authority to oversee these zones and provides incentives to business operating with them. So let's go to the tourism and PEZA. So on October 7, 2002, the Department of Tourism and PEZA signed an agreement to grant special economic zone status to tourism development zones and tourism estates. So this means that certain tourism-related areas can be recognized as SEZs, giving them access to the same benefits as industrial or manufacturing zones. So once registered with PEZA and approved by the President, businesses in these zones can enjoy tax breaks and other financial incentives to encourage investments. So here are the incentives for investors in special economic zones. The first one is that it needs to be 100% foreign ownership, where foreign investors can fully own businesses in PEZA registered tourism zones. And also, income tax holidays, where businesses are exempted from the paying income taxes for 4 to 6 years. Also, reduced tax rate after ITH. Also, tax-free importation, special investors, resident visa, hiring of foreign investors, additional PEZA-approved incentives. So this law makes it easier and more profitable for investors to develop tourism-related businesses in the Philippines, helping boost the economy and create jobs. So let's go to the joint venture, or the business model and law in the Philippines. So a joint venture is a business agreement where two or more people or companies agree to work together by contributing money, property, or skills to achieve a common goal and share profits. It is similar to a partnership, but it is usually formed for a specific project or a limited time. So here are the legal bases of joint ventures. So according to the Philippine law, People versus Caballero, 1981, a joint venture exists when two or more parties agree to work together. They combine resources such as money, property, or expertise. They share profits and losses. They also have some level of control over the business is run. So here are the key features of the joint venture. So for the common interest, all parties must have the same business goal. Also, it needs the shared management. Even if one party does more work, the others must still have some decision-making power. And also, temporary nature, where unlike partnership, joint ventures usually last only for specific projects or period. So in summary, as joint venture is an excellent way for businesses to collaborate, share resources, and grow. However, proper agreements and legal protections are really necessary, especially when dealing with the foreign partners. So it needs the proper agreements and legal protections. So let's go to the management contracts. So a management contract is an agreement where one company hires another company to manage its business for a certain time. So the managing company runs the operation in exchange for management fee. So here are the key conditions of the management contracts. So for the approval, the board of directors and most shareholders, more than 50% of both companies must agree to the contract. And for the stockholders' interest, if stockholders control both companies, more than 1/3 of shares, they must approve the contract. And for the contract duration, a management contract can last longer than 5 years and also applies to all agreements. And for the natural resources, if the contract deals with natural resources like mining or energy, the duration follows specific laws. So in exchange, the managing company gets paid a fee. Unlike franchising, this involves the the managing company actually running things, not just giving instructions. So management contracts allow companies to benefit from expert management and global system without giving up ownership, but they do come with cost and risk. So let's go to the franchising. So a franchise is a right given to someone by a company called the franchisor to sell their products or services in a certain area, and this includes their brand name and logo. So this right is often given through a contract called franchising agreement, where the franchisors provides support like advice, promotions, and sometimes financial help. So the person receiving the franchise, called the franchisee, must pay a fee for this right. So the franchisee also usually has to sell only the franchisor's product. So franchising is when a company allows someone else to sell their product or services under their name. So this agreement includes support for franchisee to run the business in a specific way. So over time, a franchise has become a detailed agreement where the franchisee agrees to run the business according to the franchisor's rules, and the franchisors agrees to help the franchisee with advertising, promotion, and other services. So the franchisors gives the franchisee the right to use their brand, and both parties agree on how the business should be run. So the most common type of franchising is called business format franchising, used by 90% of companies, and this involves following the strict system laid out by the franchisor, which is a key part of franchise agreement. So under the Intellectual Property Code of the Philippines Republic Act number 8293, intellectual property rights include things like trademarks, patents, and also design. So this law protects the ownership of ideas, names, and designs. So let's go to the timeshare ownership. So a timeshare ownership involves several owners sharing the right to use a property for a specific period each year, like 2 weeks. This model is commonly used in resorts where the cost of maintenance and running the property are divided among the owners. So timeshares have expanded to include houseboats, yachts, motorhomes, cruises, and even private jets. So the idea of timeshare in that multiple people share the right to use property for a specific time each year, making it more affordable for each person. So let's go to the taxes. Taxes on income. So taxes on income, so individuals who earn businesses income are taxed at rates between 5% and 32%, and there are personal exemptions based on your status. Single or legally separated with no dependents, 20,000, and head of the family, 25,000, and for the married one, 32,000. So you can also get an extra 8,000 pesos exemption for each dependent, up to 4 dependents. If you earn business income, you'll pay taxes based on your income with some exemption depending on your status and dependents. So let's go to the value added taxes, or the VAT. So VAT is a tax on goods and services sold, bartered, or exchanged businesses, including imports. So the tax is based on the selling price or the value of goods and services as determined by the Bureau of Customs. So let's go to the percentage taxes. So percentage taxes are the businesses with gross sales under 550,000 are exempt from VAT, but must pay a 3% percentage tax on their quarterly sales, and this also applies to the domestic carriers, garage operators, and international air and shipping carriers. So for the excise tax is added to certain goods like alcohol, automobiles, luxury items, and more, and it's applied on top of VAT and is charged when big goods leave the production site. And also the customs and import duties, where duties are taxed on imported or exported goods. So the process starts when goods enter Philippine territory and ends when the goods are released after paying customs duties. And the next one is the travel taxes, where the Filipinos and foreigners who stay in the Philippines for over a year must pay a travel tax before leaving the country. And the last one is the duty-free Philippines, where the duty-free shops in the Philippines offer tax and duty-free goods to certain passengers and individuals. So this system helps generate revenue for the government and encourages foreign exchange. So let's go to the next one, the Barangay Micro Business Enterprise or the BMBE law. So the BMBE Act of 2002 under Republic Act 9178 was created to help boost the Philippine economy by encouraging small businesses within barangays or villages to grow and succeed. The law So the law supports small entrepreneurs by simplifying government processes, providing incentives, and helping integrate informal businesses to the formal economy. So the goal is to create jobs and reduce poverty. So this BMP is any businesses in the barangay involved in activity like manufacturing, processing, and providing services with total assets of up to 3 million. So who can apply for BMP registration? So any individual, company, cooperative, or association that meets the BMP requirements can apply for registration. So who can apply for BMB registration? So any individual, company, cooperative, or association that meets the BMB requirements can apply for registration. So for the incentives and benefits, income tax exemption, local taxes, and minimum wage law exemption. So for the income tax exemption, BMBs are exempt from paying income tax on their business income. Local taxes, local government units are encouraged to either reduce exempt BMBs from local taxes, fees, and charges. And also, BMBs are not subject to the minimum wage law, but employees must still receive the same benefits as regular employees such as social security and healthcare. And so let's go to the conclusion. So the legal framework governing tourism investment and finance plays a crucial role in shaping the industry's growth and sustainability. By implementing policies that encourage private sector participation, the government fosters a business-friendly environment that attracts both local and foreign investors. So these regulations not only streamline investment opportunities but also ensure that specific groups such as balikbayans, retirees, senior citizens, and informal sector workers receive special benefits. Furthermore, foreign participation enhances the industry's competitiveness and global appeal. Overall, these legal measures contribute to the continuous development of the tourism sector, reinforcing its role as a key driver of economic progress. So that would be all for the chapter 12 that tackles about the laws related to tourism, investment, and finance. So again, I'm Hanna Perocho. Thank you for listening and goodbye.